Welcome, everybody, to the Bob Ryan Jeff Goodman podcast. Gary Tanguay along for the ride, and Bob is on assignment. I mean, the guy's retired, but he's still got the toughest schedule everywhere. I don't know. He's talking to somebody. He's traveling around. He's being a goodwill ambassador. But he's too busy to deal with us this week. So you're stuck with us, too. First of all, the Boston Globe, actually, I read it in the Globe. It was through Bleacher Report that Jayson Tatum admitted what you told us back during the playoffs, that he had a wrist injury. Let's relive that moment. Let's go back to hear Jeff talk about this on this very podcast last June.
Yes, he has been dealing with a wrist injury for the better part of the second part of the season, but that's no excuse because he's had 40-point games.
That's 46-point game.
Right. So, certain nights, I'm sure it bothers him more than others, but that's not an excuse, and he hasn't used it at all.
And in the Bleacher Report, he said that he had a bone chip in the wrist and that it had healed, but it bothered him throughout the postseason from Milwaukee on. So you're not surprised at this at all?
No, I mean, like I said, he had dealt with it really the second half of the year. Obviously, he had a hell of a season. So it didn't bother him from what I was told every single night. But there were some nights that it did, that, again, he would go to the basket, get hit on the wrist, and then it would certainly affect him. And whether it was going to the basket again, whether it was his perimeter shot not falling. So, no, I'm not shocked at all by this. I knew he was dealing with it pretty much the second half of the year for the most part. And again, I give him credit for the most. He never used it as an excuse ever till now.
Let me ask you this, because I focus on the last three games, I think, of the NBA Finals, which he disappeared. Was it last two or last three? But basically what happened is Steph stepped up, Tatum didn't.
Sure.
Is this a legitimate excuse?
Well, I mean, listen, again, we don't know. We don't know how hurt he was for those games. I think still he wasn't nearly as assertive. No matter what the wrist was bothering him, Jayson Tatum still is a guy who needs to make an impact on the game, whether it's scoring 30 or 40, or if he can't do that and he knows his wrist is bothering him, he can still have the ball in his hands and make plays for other people. I think one of the things that still gets lost with Tatum when we compare him to Jaylen Brown, and a lot of people enjoy doing that right now and saying that Jaylen Brown had the better NBA Finals, which he did. Jaylen Brown doesn't face double teams. Jayson Tatum faces double teams every single time. So it's not apples and apples. Jayson Tatum is the better player. That's why he's seeing double teams virtually every time he touches the basketball. I don't think that'll be the case as much this year because you've got guys like Brogdon, like Gallinari that are capable of making shots from the perimeter. So I think it'll be a little bit harder to double him consistently. He'll still face it. But again, he was dealing with this injury. And again, it didn't affect him every single game. But there were certain games that I was told that it hampered him, that, again, he went down hard and he wasn't able to be nearly as effective, whether it was shooting the ball from three, whether it was taking it and finishing through.